Welcome back to AM Northwest. You know, this time of year is filled with temptations and stress, which can make it really hard to stick to your health goals. Here with some helpful advice for navigating the holidays, we welcome the author of the forthcoming book, Your Best Shot, weight health expert Ashley Koff. Good to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. I mean, the holidays are tough. This is kind of a different year because it feels like a lot of people are on those medications that help you lose weight, like Ozempic, GLP-1s, right?
Yeah.
And you're kind of seeing a different kind of stress out there.
Yeah, I mean, the medications have been around for 15 years.
Oh, okay.
But what we have this explosion in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And I think the explosion is access. They're still not as accessible as, as we would like.
They're super expensive.
Right, they're expensive. For some people, they're covered by insurance, and there are a ton of benefits to them. But we also have to understand that our body makes weight health hormones. So something like GLP-1, we make it. It just stays on for about 2 to 5 minutes. These medications stay on for a full week. So there can be advantages, but there can also be things that become issues. And so during the holidays, I do work with my patients who are on them to make sure that things like digestion and sleep and stress, that we have a different approach now that they're on them.
How do you suggest folks on those medications stay healthy? Because it really, they may be, and everyone's different about weight loss too on these drugs. They don't always work for everyone, right?
Right. Well, let's unpack two different things there.
Okay.
Number one, the way that I suggest that people stay healthy on those medications is the way I suggest everybody stays healthy.
Sure, that makes sense.
It is actually the same approach. We all need to optimize our digestion. We all need to be hydrated. We should be choosing things that are delicious to us in the moment, which helps us engage our satiety. Now, if we're on a medication that is slowing our digestion, or we're on a medication that may be keeping us more metabolically active, our sleep may be impaired. So I may need to do things specifically for someone who's on that medication. The second part of what you were saying is I don't think the goal should be weight loss.
Okay.
I think it's a really bad goal. I think we've been in a society since, I'm 52, since I was a kid, where it was weight or health, right? And what we really need to look at is weight health. So understanding that your size, that total number on the scale, actually tells me nothing about your health. So I want to know how your blood sugar is. I want to know how your blood pressure is. I do want to know if the body is creating excess fat, whether it's putting it in the liver or whether we're seeing it, in the belly or elsewhere, or not making enough muscle or bone. I want to understand that because we have to help it there. So it's a little bit of a reframe on that part.
Sure.
I think we don't want to take approaches to just lose weight. We don't want to stop eating in the morning, as an example, or we don't want to avoid all carbohydrates. We really want to optimally resource the body with nutrients.
Okay, so let's talk about those tips that you mentioned right off the bat. So the Better Be Delicious test. This is a great idea.
Yeah, this was one I came up with years ago. I was in DC and I had a lot of people during the holidays that just were going from event to event to event. And whether it was their alcohol intake or their mocktail or their food, they would just, we would have a conversation and I would say, on a scale of 1 to 10, is something a 7 or greater? And if it's not, don't have it.
It makes a lot of sense.
I was just talking to the woman who's doing the cranberry white chocolate. I was like, okay, that's going to be delicious to me, right? So if something's delicious, what happens is it actually engages our satiety response. So it helps us to actually feel full with an appropriate amount. When we don't have things that are delicious and they're just around, we end up overeating or looking for something later.
It's kind of like how we just eat up a bowl of chips and dip without even thinking about whether it's great or not.
Yes, I had a client just recently who said to me, Ashley, I had 2 Reese's cups. And I said, all right, I want you to go back and I want you to actually eat the Reese's cup. And after every bite, I want you to do that delicious to me test.
Right.
After 4 bites, it was no longer a 7.
Yeah, it wasn't great anymore.
It wasn't, but yet we'll eat the 2. So it is important. We do have to recognize that our processed foods and some of these, desserts are made in a way where they might override the satiety response. So with that's why I like using that delicious test.
You say do less, not more.
Yeah, that's a big one across the board. So number one, we are so stressed out with all of the things on our to-do list. So really hone in on what you need to be doing. But there's a lot of messaging about more protein, more fiber, more exercise. And I would actually advise people that instead of having more at one time, you want to have less at one time, but then space it out more often. So about every 3 hours, great to move your body, great to have some protein, some fiber, some carbohydrates, kind of do that more often.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then you talk about being strategic with stimulants like sweets and caffeine.
Yeah, one of the biggest things that we can do from a mistake standpoint is actually think that caffeine gives us energy.
Yeah.
It doesn't. The calories give us energy, and so if we have
now that's a really good point.
Yeah.
I mean, but it does keep your eyes open.
Oh, it keeps your eyes open. But the problem is if I have coffee, like maybe that 3 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock wake up time, if I just have coffee and I don't put anything in there, I'm revving my metabolic engine. And so the body's going, great, I want to do all of this stuff. It doesn't have anything in there to work with.
Oh, gotcha.
So we're better when we have our coffee to have it, or our tea, et cetera, to have it with a little something to eat. And then we also want to recognize that caffeine stays in our body for about 6 hours. Now, some people like myself are what we call slow metabolizers genetically. Caffeine will stay in my body 8 to 10 hours.
Wow.
So if I have that at noon, then if I'm trying to go to bed at 8 or 10, it's
Right.
not working better for me. And sweets can do something similar where, especially in the back half of the day, they can be giving us that energy, that sort of kick into gear, but also they're giving our body a lot of work to do. Well, if I'm trying to go to sleep, and this is a great tip for all the parents out there, or aunts and uncles, if you want to give someone something that's a sweet treat, try having it maybe, say, in the afternoon or even at around lunchtime as opposed to after dinner.
Yeah, because then they'll be up all night.
They'll be up all night.
We want to tell everyone that you have your book out, and it is called Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I have more time, so let me get to more questions.
Yes.
You also say to become a sponge, not a hose.
Yes. A lot of us think that drinking water is the way that we get hydrated. It's not. Yes, we want to have water come into our body, but it actually has to come into our cells. So we need to absorb it. So that's the sponge side. If you're drinking water and you're peeing, and you're just drinking and peeing, you're actually a hose. Taking the water in and the water is going out.
Right.
And so it actually will slow down your metabolism. So we want to bring the water into our cells, which means we want to make sure that we're getting in potassium, which is a food you can get in cauliflower, banana, chickpeas, a variety of places, or maybe an electrolyte. And we also want to recognize that caffeine, sugar, and alcohol actually dehydrate us. So they may be better for us to, focus on getting our water in separate from when we're having those things.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we'll do the book.
That's right. Yes.
And your book is
Thank
titled
you.
Your Best Shot. Ashley Koff. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
All right. We'll be right back with more AM Northwest. Don't go away. Excellent job.